I'm sure we've all seen Hello Neighbor before. You know, that buggy ass game where you break into your neighbor's, can you even call that a house? And try to get into his basement for some reason. As it stands right now, this franchise's reputation is not the best, with it being known for being very buggy, low effort, and having clout chasing developers. It currently features two mainline games of pretty poor quality, with a third on the way, which actually looks quite promising, and a few spin-off games such as its very own ASIM, which is actually very fun, and a scrap mechanic ripoff? Anyway, when Hello Neighbor was first announced back in 2016, it was a very unique and spooky concept. You sneak into your neighbor's house and try not to get caught. The neighbor has an advanced AI and learns from your strategies from the previous attempts, which leads to entryways being blocked and traps being set in locations that you often return to. This forces you to adapt and change your playstyle, and the early stages of all this were very prevalent in what I think is the scariest variant of this game, the pre-alpha. This was the first in a long line of alphas and betas before the finished product of the first game actually came out. And the game got progressively less refined and more buggy as the versions went on. I prefer the pre-alpha because it represents what the finished game could have been like if they stuck to the original idea. A horror game, first and foremost. The first reason I prefer the pre-alpha is its graphic design. The pre-alpha features a more realistic design compared to every version after Alpha 2, which went for a much more cartoony look, which in my opinion takes away from the more grounded horror feeling of the original concept. This is most noticeable in the trees, of all things. Here is the pre-alpha trees, that look like normal trees, right? Now here are the trees in the full game. Just a big block of green. The game having this realistic look lends itself to the initially grounded premise of breaking into your creepy neighbor's house, just trying not to get caught. Another factor that makes this version scary is the sounds and music. Obviously the main chase theme is iconic, even though it doesn't survive to the main game, and is only present as a chase theme in the pre-alpha and alpha 1. But this music, in my opinion, is far more scary and fitting for chase music than this. The original version represents the alarm bells and panic that would be going through your head if you were a child getting caught sneaking about in your neighbor's house. The ambience when just sneaking around is also extremely unsettling and makes you feel like your neighbor is no normal guy. Perhaps the standout for this game in terms of music is the search music, when he knows you're around and is looking for you. I might be playing it in the background, so as you can hear, it's absolutely horrifying. The reason this is the standout is because they completely dropped it in every other version of the game after this one, which was a huge mistake. Without it, the game loses so much of its atmosphere. Another thing that reinforces that this neighbor is not a normal person is his gigantic labyrinth of a house, or at least that's what it looks like from the outside. Now I much prefer this house to the ridiculously big patchwork building that he has in the full game, because while the pre-alpha house is still a gigantic mansion that makes the neighbor look like the most obnoxious guy in the neighborhood living in a place like that on his own, it still looks like it could realistically exist without the different bright colours of wood and a train weaving in and out with a wind turbine atop it that the full game has. It is unfortunate that in the pre-alpha only the ground floor is accessible, as the stairs are blocked by a bunch of furniture, especially since you can see that there would be so much more were all of the house accessible. Luckily, there are some really good fan games that have this. Anyway, the fact that this one guy lives in a mansion this big has its own really weird, creepy feeling, as does his bathroom, which is really long and empty, with a bath in the middle of the room full of plastic water bottles. Not to mention he has a room where all of the furniture is inverted, as if he superglued everything to the ceiling. If you somehow access this room, the neighbor will instantly spawn at the door and kill you. Additionally, and this is most likely not intentional, and it's just because it's an alpha build, but his street/neighborhood is in the middle of nowhere. Behind his house is just nothing but grass and what looks like the end of the world. It is one of the games which has what I like to call the pocket dimension effect, where the world feels so devoid of life and dead that you feel an unnerving trapped sensation, kind of like the Truman Show in a way, but worse. Other games I've noticed have this effect include Mafia 2, Kerbal Space Program, and Megaton Rainfall. All of this gives the game a feeling of being in a nightmare, as it's mostly realistic but with some subtle creepy elements that don't make sense and feel dreamlike. This is even further hammered in with this creepy sequence that happens when you get caught a few times, where a gigantic neighbor crouches in front of your tiny one-room house and reaches his gloved hand through the window and grabs you. Of course, the most obvious factor towards this game's scariness is the neighbor himself. himself. This, the game's most unfinished version, is ironically when he's at his scariest. This is where the game, being unpolished, helps it, as the neighbor is like an emotionless robot in this one. He never blinks, or has any other facial expression. He moves around like a machine, and he spends all his time watching white noise with a Spanish fellow yapping away the same sentences over and over. Creepier is the fast, consistent way he runs after you, never tiring, always coming. It really does feel like something your mind would conjure up in a nightmare. This game also showed off an early version of the neighbor's advanced AI, and how he adapts to your approach, and it was promising. You enter through the front door, he locks it. You climb in a window, he bores it shut. You use an area a lot, he'll put bear traps down. And then in the full version, he just puts down 1 trillion cameras at the front door, and the neighbor's AI and the neighbor himself just feels really lazily done. He can't even really get to the upper floors in the full version, as his AI doesn't know how to get there. Also, and this is a very minor thing, but why on earth did they remove the grab animation when you get caught in the pre-alpha and alpha 1? Because in the full version, he just runs at you and stares into your soul while throwing continuous glue on your head. I want to also, at the end of this video, talk about the wasted potential that was the prototype build. This was only ever officially seen in the announcement trailer for Hello Neighbor, and it looked genuinely scary. A true unique horror experience. There's a fan-made playable version of the prototype house available on Steam called Hello Neighbor Prototype Revived, and honestly, if I was including fan games, this would probably be the scariest version of the game. The house feels unnaturally structured, kind of like Mr. Reed's house in Heretic, and the neighbor is really quiet. He could be lurking around any corner. The sounds in this game are also chef's kiss. When the neighbor sees you in this one, it plays this terrifying footstep noise before the music kicks in, which really activates your fight or flight response. Not to mention the ambience in this version really captures what Hello Neighbor could have been if they kept to their original idea. And that's about it for this video. If you agree that the pre-alpha is the best version, sweet, but if you disagree, please feel free to comment your opinion. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and also check out the Prototype Revived. If you feel like Hello Neighbor had some serious wasted potential, then this fan game will definitely scratch an itch. I'd recommend watching 8-Bit Rise video on it if you don't want to play it yourself. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! And a few spin-off games, such as and the early stages of all this were the first reason I prefer the pre-alpha, the pre-alpha features a very kill me. I might be playing in the background, as you can hear. It's absolutely horrible. It is unfortunate that okay. But if you disagree, please feel free.